Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, August 2nd is Election Day in the state of Missouri. There are primary elections statewide, and there are local issues as well. Today we're focusing on a local issue in Joplin. It deals with local sales tax. And joining me today, we have members of the Citizens Task Force we'll find out more about today. We have Kimball and Duncan and Tim Woodall. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
This is going to be one of a number of things that people in the city of Joplin will see on their election ballot. But Proposition A. Give me a definition of what this means, what we're talking about.
Well, really quickly, off the top of my head, what Proposition A is a vote on a tax that will, it's a tax that's been here for a while. It's not anything new, but it's a tax that is put on motor vehicles, anything that is licensed property from
like
purchased from outside the state.
Things like that.
Yes,
Well.
boats, trailers, cars, motor vehicles.
So it's a tax that is in existence, but now the cities have to bring it up to a vote of the voters.
Right.
And Judy, basically that the sales tax is on sales that comes from out-of-state purchases, okay? Such as a resident of Joplin goes to Miami or Galena or Rogers or someplace like that. That's where that sales tax is being challenged.
Okay. And I introduced you as members of the Citizens Task Force. So let's start off explaining what this group is. I mean, you're obviously members. How many people are on the task force? How was it formed? How did this start?
I believe we have 12 members, and the city of Joplin was looking at putting together a task force to educate the community about what this tax, since it has been, when it was revoked back in 2012, and how it's been reinstated, and now coming up to a vote, how we can better educate the community on what this tax actually does and will not do if not voted on.
So you've been a member of this task force. Amber, what was your interest in participating?
Well, I think anything that's going to bring more revenue into our city and keep it in our city is always going to be a good thing, especially now. I'd hate to see people, leave and go out of state just because of this sheer and simple fact, and then to lose those revenue dollars coming back in. I would hate to see that. So.
Okay. So you also had a personal interest, attracted to joining this group.
Absolutely. I really love Joplin, and part of what I like about this is it creates a level playing field for our local car dealers. It would keep people it would incentivize them to stay in town to purchase vehicles and other things of that nature. And to me, I think it's wonderful.
Well, let's give some background. I guess this ties into actually a Supreme Court case that said you can't do what you've been doing for a while.
That is correct. Would one of y'all like to expand on that? Or?
When this occurred, and the Supreme Court said we no longer can have this tax. So what then the cities then have to decide to put it up for vote?
Well, there was a lawsuit. It was Street against the Missouri Department, or I should say the Missouri Director of Revenue. And the Supreme Court upheld this individual because I believe I'm not sure exactly what he bought, but this impacts us in a lot of different ways, Judy. First of all, you've got motorhomes that are sold here in town that if these people go out of state, almost 3% of that money sold on that motorhome is lost if this tax does not go through. We've got trailers. Whether it be horse trailers, whether it be pull-behind trailers just for hauling rubbish and things of that nature, even to that level. Anything titled that is purchased out of state, and they come back here. Obviously, they live here.
The Missouri residents, they have to license in Missouri.
If that vote isn't secured, then obviously that 2.625, I think it is the percentage. We lose that revenue, which means police, fire protection, capital improvements that we desperately need can be compressed to the point where we're not going to be able to get those things if this thing goes away.
So this is money coming into the city now. It's a risk of not having it for the future.
Exactly. The state, I guess the legislation is, I better call it, they set a fix in place after about 2 quarters of us not being able to get this revenue. They put a fix in place until this year. Then obviously that there was just passed that it would extend, but we still need to get this done August the 2nd at this ballot.
And for people who are watching, obviously we go beyond Joplin city limits. If they live in another surrounding community, those communities may be bringing this up to a vote as well.
Absolutely.
On the county side.
County,
Through the county. Yeah.
county as well. So there's a lot of people who would be affected by this. You don't have to live within the Joplin city limits. There's your taxing entity may be dealing with this issue and
Yes.
tying it together. Well, let's talk about some of the situations. It's a sales tax. The importance of sales tax to the city. People might say, "Well, I go to the store and shop." I mean, what percentage or what's the impact of sales tax on the city's budget?
Go ahead.
Right now, I believe that what that tax brings into the city is about $500,000. And like Tim said, without it, we wouldn't be able to fix up squad cars as quickly, keep fire engines and things like that up where they need to be functioning properly. It's a very foundational thing for the city to have this extra money there to take care of people that take care of us.
So it's not a designated tax like you might have road projects or sewer projects. This goes into the general fund.
It
to pay
goes
for
into the
operations.
general fund, and even stormwater projects and even parks. Part of that affects all of that and our quality of life here in this city.
So the $500,000 or so the city raises annually from this tax, without it, you'd be $500,000 less for being able to spend the money within the community.
Right.
The city overall budget is based a lot on sales tax as well. Then is that correct? So then, whether you're shopping at a store or you're shopping for a car, you're still paying a sales tax to help the city of Joplin.
Right.
Tying that together. So programs that are at risk, you mentioned things like public safety, transportation. I imagine as a citizens task force, did you, as you were gathering, how did you come up with, the plan or talking about how people visualize what the difference would mean?
Well, obviously we have a tremendous crew there at the city that can be able to project those numbers for us. It's tremendous that they saw within those first 2 quarters that the tax was actually revoked.
Right.
That we had to abide by the Supreme Court ruling. There was about 21.5% of our sales tax revenues that was not collected during that period of time. That's a big chunk. And so anyway, that's basically what we're dealing with, and that could escalate. Even to the point, obviously our dealer body here, and you're probably going to ask, I may be jumping ahead, but it's a big issue for them as well.
So economic development more or less ties into this. If you're a car dealership and you sell fewer cars, it's going to affect the local economy.
Yeah, they won't be making as much money. They won't be able to keep on as many people, and it's really tied to many, many different things in our city.
You find that when you talk to people, they don't realize sometimes, if you haven't bought a car lately, you don't realize that there's a difference when you cross the state, or there's potentially a difference.
I think so, for sure.
So part of your task is educating people that it makes a difference.
That is our task. We need to educate, and people need to understand the fact that those dollars, even $100 out of our own pockets, makes a major difference in making sure that we have proper stormwater protection and things of this nature, as well as parks and everything that it goes toward. We've just got to maintain that.
So education being a big part, painting the picture for people. As you say, some people don't realize it. You just let them know that when you go across the state line, you buy a car and you come back, you have to license at Missouri, pay Missouri taxes.
Right.
People sometimes they're confused. I bought the car across the state line, so
And
where do I pay my
they didn't
taxes?
even know that they wouldn't be possibly paying taxes on it, so.
The state's still going to get their tax, okay? But that designated for our city is paramount.
So the court ruling only affects cities getting their taxes, not the state.
That's, well, and obviously there's going to be issues with counties as well, but yeah. And there's still a lot of cities that doesn't have this. One of the things that we have found, and even talking with some of the the larger dealers here in town, that they noticed a definite impact when this tax was revoked. You know, and those are pretty big dollars when you buy a car these days, or a motorcycle, or a motorhome, or whatever the case may be. And we need to make sure and provide them an equitable, safe, equal playing field for our dealer body, because people do come in from all over to Joplin, and we don't want them going out.
Joplin's still definitely a regional retail center.
My land, yes, and you've got 3 states close by to choose from. That even puts us even at a higher risk, I guess you would say.
So being a border state, or a border to the counties, affects Joplin a lot more than maybe Columbia or something in the middle of the state, where people aren't likely to drive 100 miles or so to go across the state line.
Exactly.
That's
It's very easy to go 5 or 10 minutes across the state line to make those purchases. We want to make sure that people keep it here. They're investing in Joplin whenever they keep it here in town, and we think that's really, really important.
Yeah, not only that, people, it's easy to just see the dollar signs right off the bat, like, oh, if I'm going to save $1,000 or whatever the
taxes,
the amount is on that specific vehicle. There is a convenience factor to having all these dealerships in Joplin. As someone who's looking for a car right now, we could go to Miami, we could go do this, and take the sales tax aspect out of it. It's just finding what I want and who I want to work with. I don't want to go out of town. I want to find my dealer, and I want to take my car back to him. So, it's one thing to look at the saving some money, which we all agree we would like to do that every chance we get. However, those start going away and your convenience goes away, and it's just not going to be as easy for anybody. So I hope that people can look at that, kind of in that aspect as well.
Now, do you have any statistics as far as a percentage of Joplin residents who purchase their vehicles out of state? Has that been tracked?
Well, I think I think it was around 21%. Those numbers they came up with before, it's 21% of the sales vehicles at that time was purchased out of state. Okay, and so that's pretty much, I believe, a pretty good rule of thumb.
So 1 out of 5 cars.
And that's, yeah. And think about the trickle-down effect of that too, Judy. We've got employees of those dealerships in the service departments, in the sales departments. Of course, the owners who put tremendous money back into our economy through advertising, through Little League ball, through all of that. We need to make sure that they have a safe, equitable place to do business.
So has the Citizens Task Force met or talked to the local dealers? Is there a dealer association or some way that you're getting out and talking to them as well?
Jack Frost actually sits on our board or our committee. That's how interested he was in seeing this work out well. It's very important to him.
Right.
I know that for myself specifically. I don't know if there is a board or a group of dealers that we've engaged.
We are involved now in talking directly with these dealer general managers and owners, not only of the new cars but also of the used car spectrum of this as well.
You're taxed on the used car as well as the new car.
Exactly, and they've got used cars across the border. So it's just very important that we reach all of those. And what we're finding is that a very high percentage of these dealers are really excited about getting this thing put behind us once and for all.
So have the question settled, so there's not that uncertainty.
That's exactly
right.
That's exactly right.
Now, I understand the ballot language may be a little challenging for people, so let's review that for people as far as the wording and how it's, because I believe it starts off, shall we discontinue? So someone explain to how we're approaching the ballot, the wording on the ballot.
Well, the wording itself was not put together at the city. The wording was put together at the state level. And that was something we kind of sat down and evaluated as well, thinking this is a bit confusing, which is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons that we have this group of people to help educate individuals, because it is the wording is confusing. It can be.
So I have a quote here: shall the city of Joplin, Missouri discontinue applying and collecting the local sales tax on the titling of motor vehicles, trailers, boats, and outboard motors that were purchased from a source other than a licensed Missouri dealer? So it's, people say, am I voting yes or no? What do I do?
Well, obviously, we want them. The ballot is there to if you want to continue the sales tax, you must vote no.
Okay.
Okay, and like Drew had stated, this was not really verbiage that was very positive in the way we looked at this, but we needed to keep it just like it was handed down.
The state said this is how everybody's going to ask the question, whether you live in Joplin or another community, they're going to have this, shall it be discontinued?
Yes.
But then it goes on, I notice that it has this brief explanation. Approval of this measure will result in a reduction of local revenue to provide for vital services for the city of Joplin, Missouri. Will place Missouri dealers of motor vehicles, outboard motors, boats, trailers at a competitive disadvantage to non-Missouri dealers of motor vehicles, outboard motors, boats, and trailers. So little brief paragraph, I guess, explaining what it means for people.
Yes.
And you feel that's an important part of the ballot question
Hopefully
as well?
that will help stimulate, along with the education that we'll all be involved with, will help stimulate that proper review of that ballot and vote accordingly.
And hopefully, if we can continue to focus on the word discontinue, they will see that, and like we said at the very beginning of the program, it's not new. It's always been here. So you're not voting to instate a new tax, or impose a new tax by any means. It's, do you want to discontinue it? So if we can continue to focus on discontinue, that might help too.
And Missouri has some pretty strict laws as far as taxes and starting anything new, and this is just a matter of asking people, do you want to discontinue something that exists?
Right.
Yes.
Tying that together. So the ballot language being one aspect, and then also stressing the city that it's not the state of Missouri.
That's right.
Tying that together. When people are looking at this issue and they go to the polls, they're going to have this as a little, I guess, one item city issue on the ballot then that day.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Tell me how you're approaching your educational efforts then. Obviously, we're doing a show today. What other types of outreach are you planning? What's the Citizen Task Force going to be doing?
So there's this. We'll also be engaging the Chamber of Commerce. We'll be engaging the Young Professionals Network. I know we have a list of people. Some of them would be Rotary clubs and
Mr. Optimus.
Civic clubs and organizations?
Yes, exactly.
A lot of those. And of course, friends and family. That's one of the things that we need to make sure that everyone recognizes, and everyone needs to get out and vote. That's the other issue.
yeah.
Now, do you feel that August being a primary, that's going to have some competitive statewide races? You may see more people coming to the ballot box in that.
Well, we're hoping so.
Yeah.
So that
Definitely.
increased number of people means probably increases your challenge to get the word out to those people that haven't
Yes, it
seen the
does.
issue beforehand.
Yes, it does.
So, now I understand there's a fine line between the Citizens Task Force and what the city can do. The city's basically providing information.
And we're an extension of the city. Our role is to educate and to understand the impact of whichever way that you vote. It's not for us to determine which way you vote, other than educate on what the impact would be.
Okay.
So hopefully that.
So you can't really advocate, I want you to vote this way. It says, here's the issue before you.
That is correct.
We advocate for voting in general.
Absolutely.
Really all about that.
Now, do you have information available on the city website or somewhere? We're talking and people might say, I need more details. Are there going to be resources like that available?
Absolutely, yes. cityofjoplin.org.
The JoplinMo.org website?
Yes. Yes, all the information
Yeah,
is
we
on
have
there.
it up on the screen now. So
Oh, there it is.
So if they go to that website, they can find there's a Q&A type format. What does this mean? How does it affect us?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Tying that
absolutely.
together.
And we'll try to put it on other social media, or the intent is to put it on other social media outlets as well, so that it'll be easier to find along the way.
Do you think social media is becoming a bigger means of communicating with people with issues like this?
I think so. I think so.
Absolutely.
So today's
And especially
voter,
the younger demographic who utilizes it maybe more so than people used to.
right?
I think it's a really good way to reach them.
And we'll continue, Judy, using the more conventional forms as well through TV, such as yourself,
Right.
through newspaper, and through I believe we have flyers being printed up and things of that nature that's going to be printed material for people to take home and be able to share with their family and what this is and how it can impact and continue to help our community to grow.
Now, will you have a presence at community-wide events like Third Thursday and things like that where people can get information?
You know, that is still in the works, and so Judy, we're definitely want to make sure and cover every angle that we possibly can. It's very important that this campaign gets the proper attention because you and me and everyone here will be impacted by the results.
If someone who's watching, maybe they don't belong to a civic club, but they want to get information, will you make people available to go out and talk to even smaller groups or church groups or things like that?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
We want to get in front of anybody and everybody that we can, group-wise. We've talked about card clubs and everything. I mean, just anybody we can get in front of. So if anybody wants to reach out through the city's
Public information office and say,
exactly. We would be happy to have this conversation with any groups that would like to hear about it.
Tell me about your feelings about the importance of having citizens kind of hitting the ground with your feet to share the news about this versus then just posting something from the city saying you're voting on this. Your perspective on the citizen involvement.
Well, I think it's important because there's you think of the city as kind of being those people up there, these people that make rules. And it's important that, we're regular people, we're business owners and workers and people in the community that agree with this idea, that want to educate people. And so it's much more personable, it's more palatable to go engage everybody else in your community and have these conversations rather than just having, somebody from the city talk about it to everybody and try to educate them. We want to make sure that we get out and get that information out through the easiest possible channels. And to me, that's communication, that's chatting like we're doing now.
And that helps the city too. I mean, there's only so many of them, so this just adds, we're just more, like he said, an extension of the city. So it's just 12 or so more voices out there getting that material across and getting the education component across. So I think it helps them out too.
Absolutely.
And we're, of course, recording this program a few weeks prior to the actual election, so imagine you're putting together a pretty busy schedule of places for everybody to go in your group.
Stacking up.
Fill in the schedule and be able to put things in there. Well, people might be curious, okay, if we vote no, it continues.
That's
so
correct.
that tax will be there in the future. There's no risk of saying we have to come back next year and do it or anything.
That's right.
What happens if it doesn't vote? If it goes the other way? Is there a timetable when they're going to say, sorry, you've lost your tax money?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we lose the timetable. That's the reason why we're hitting it this August to get this done and get it as the word is, one and done. Let's get it out of the way and make sure that we can get on to bigger and better things.
So I imagine the city has a vested interest in their budgeting, perhaps as well. We're in the middle of the
Absolutely.
year, being able to plan next year's budget. Will we have this tax revenue to work with for next year?
The money has got to come from someplace, and so therefore, again, this is no new tax, so it's not anything that we're putting out there new. But it's sure, if it's taken away, it's going to seriously impact our community.
Do you find that people may not realize, I don't want to use the word tight, but how precise the budgeting has to be for the city? That, the people sometimes, the city has lots of money. They have all this money coming in, and it's just.
Well, Judy, think about it yourself. When all of a sudden your income dwindles by let's just say 20%, what are some of the first things that you're going to get rid of or have to cut back on? Maybe you're not going to get that car fixed or the new brakes on there just quite as soon. Well, that's a terrible thing because that's a life-saving issue. Okay, so when you start thinking about this, and every individual needs to think, it's no new tax, but if you take it away, how are we going to make up the difference?
So those projects still need to be done.
No one likes new taxes, but we need to maintain and keep things going. More importantly, think of all the waterfall effect with our dealerships that sell all these things and how they affect our. Again, I go back to repeating how they affect our community in a positive way, and they're supporting us in all different not-for-profit organizations and things of that nature. That makes our community a community that people want to come to, this is a destination point that people want to be. Let's continue that.
So it sounds like it almost ties into a quality of life that people refer to
It
sometimes.
is a quality of
Absolutely.
life.
Tying that, you get
Absolutely.
the extras out of it in addition to saying, okay, we can buy brakes for the police car, we can do these things.
Exactly.
Quality of life and tying it together. Well, what have you found most, I say, enjoyable or liked the most as far as working together with the group that you have on the task force? You know, putting the minds together.
They're fun. They're fun. It's great to work with them, and they're all, from all different walks of life here. You know, Drew is an entrepreneur in himself, and of course Amber here, she runs an operation, a big operation that does business all around us, and so it's great being able to mingle with these people and touch base and understand how they tick, and just it builds community. So that's why I'm excited about being on it.
And Drew and Amber, I know you've been on shows previously with similar things, working as community members.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's been really fun also to me as a citizen, being on committees like this helped me feel empowered, helped me realize like I might be Drew, you know, one person out of 50,000 here in Joplin, but I can make a difference. And so being able to engage committees like this and people like this is really fun. It's really wonderful. More people should do this, I think.
I agree, and learning more about, every time I get involved in something like this with the city, I learn a little bit more about how the city operates. So not working for the city, it kind of opens my eyes up a little bit, and it just gives me that much more respect for the city of Joplin and what they do and what they accomplish every day for our community, and it's fun to watch and fun to be a part of it in a small way.
So everybody playing their role in the overall picture for the city, tying that together. Well, to summarize, August 2nd is Election Day, and as we're recording this, absentee ballots are available now if
Yes.
people aren't going to be in
Yes.
town, so they can do that. And their polling places, they can find out where they usually vote. It's probably going to be the same polling places before. So,
Yep, I don't think anything's changed on that, so.
okay. Well, I'd like to thank the three of you for visiting today, providing information for our viewers, and thank you for your follow-up on what we've talked about today.
Thank you.
Judy,
Absolutely,
thank
thank
you
you.
for the place to come.
Okay, you're welcome. Well, hopefully we've answered some questions for the viewers today about Proposition A and what it means for the city of Joplin. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.